All right, this is the last section in our circles unit. And so today's lesson talks about area of circles and sectors. This lesson is virtually identical to the prior lesson where we did circumference of circles and arc length of sectors. We're going to be doing the exact same proportion. It's just we're working with area, not circumference. So let's actually review just area of circles here. So reminder, formula for the area of the circle is pi times the square of the radius. So pi r squared is what we're used to. So just kind of a reminder here, you are always squaring just the radius, not pi. So the radius is the only part squared, and then we multiply by pi. So let's take a look at these first couple examples. We are going to use the formula for area of a circle. So we are going to, number one, calculate radius. So I'm given the area here. So I always begin with my formula. So A equals pi r squared. I know what A is. So 201 equals pi times r squared. Now I'm solving for r. So I need to isolate that variable. So I'm going to come through here and divide by pi. So when I do 201 divided by pi, I get approximately 63.98. Okay, and I usually take it out a couple digits, or don't round it and just leave that on your calculator. Oops. So that leaves me with r squared. Okay, so remember, the way we undo the inverse of something to the second power is we need to take the square root. So we're going to come through and take the square root of both sides. So I actually still have 63.98 on my calculator. So if you, just kind of a little calculator tip, I have a Texas Instruments, and if you look at the negative key toward the bottom right of the calculator, above it, it says A and S. So like there's the button. So if I activate the second key, it will activate answer. So here's what you can do so you don't have to retype those digits. I could come through here and do square root of, and then get A and S. Your calculator remembers all those digits. Otherwise, you can just retype 63.98. Okay, but radius is equal to 7.998, so we're going to round that up to 8.0, and my unit is feet. Okay, will you do letter B? You are finding the area. Okay, I left my answer in two parts. So this is that exact area. We talked about exact circumference last time. They actually both require a unit. I'm kind of out of space here. I'll try to squeeze in inches squared, inches squared. So this would be more of your approximated area, and we will focus more on approximated area for what we're looking at today. So 84.9. All right. Let's move on to a couple other question types. Okay, number one, the diameter of a circle is 11 centimeters. Find the area. Okay, so diameter is 11. So the area formula is pi r squared. So I need to take diameter and turn it into radius. So radius is just half of diameter. So you are actually substituting in 5.5. So let's round to the nearest tenth here. So I'm going to take 5.5 and square it, multiply by pi. And so my area ends up being, well, it'll be 95.0 if I'm rounding to the nearest tenth centimeters squared. So it's 95.03, but we'll just leave it at 95.0. Okay, Number 2, area of a circle is 158.3 square yards, so that's area. Find r, find the radius. All right, so formula, a equals pi r squared. So plug in your area, 158.3 equals pi times r squared. Now approach this just like an equation. I'm solving for r. So I have to divide by pi first. Okay, so r squared is equal to 158.3 divided by pi is equal to 50.388. I usually take it out a few more digits because I need to do one more calculation. So you're going to come through here and square root both sides now to solve for r. So if I take the square root and let's just round to the nearest tenth, I get approximately 7.1. So 7.1 yards. Okay, number 3 says the area of a circle is 10,247 pi square meters. Find the diameter. Okay, let's start with our area formula. A equals pi r squared. So my area includes pi. So 10,247 pi equals, and then on the right-hand side, I have pi r squared. Okay, I'm solving for r because I ultimately need diameter. Let's divide both sides by pi. And so do you see how these two pi's divide out to be 1, and so do those. So now we have 10,247 equals r squared. So now you're ready to come through here and take the square root. So if I take the square root of 10,247, my radius is about 101.2. Now diameter, I need to double that. So the diameter is really 202.4, oops, 0.4, or if you didn't round it like I did, you might have had 0.5. So I'm going to change this to an approximation sign because we have done some rounding here. All right, so if you're within a tenth, then sometimes that occurs on our rounding. Okay, let's go ahead and keep going here in this video. So we are going to now focus on the sector of a circle. So let's have a definition here for what is a sector. So sector of a circle is the region bounded by 2 radii. The region bounded by 2 radii of the circle. The region bounded by 2 radii of the circle and their intercepted arc. And their intercepted Okay, so it's a section of the circle. So if you look at this picture here, this kind of yellowish part, that is called a sector. It is a section or a fractional piece of the circle. And our goal is to find out the area of this fractional piece. Or maybe we know the area and we're trying to find the radius or something like that. Okay, so our formula here is identical to what we did for circumference. It's just we're dealing with area. So let me take a look at this equation right here. So we are going to put into a ratio the area of a sector divided by the total area. I'll put here total area. And then that is equal to the measure of the arc out of 360. So this is identical to what we saw. So this is a section of the arc, and this is a section of the area. On the bottom, we have total area, total degrees. Okay, so we've got all area information in one fraction, all degree information in the other. Okay, so let's go with that as we set these next couple up. Find the areas of the sectors formed by angle PQR. So PQR is right here. So I have a shaded sector and an unshaded sector. Okay, so let's just start with shaded. Okay, so my ratio, I need to find the area. So I'm going to say area of the shaded sector over total area. So total area is going to be pi times r squared. Now 10 is your radius. Okay, so I've got the area of the section, total area. Now I want degrees. So I have, of course, 360 degrees. So I'm dealing with the shaded area. So this 160 goes with the arc associated with the shaded area. So that is what I want there. Okay, let's cross multiply. So I have 360x. Along the other diagonal, let's do 10 squared is 100 times 160. So I'm going to right now leave that as 16,000, and then don't forget times pi. I haven't used it yet. And then now let's divide and solve. So divide by 360. And then now I'm going to take into account that pi. So 1600 now multiply by pi, hit equals, and then divide by 360. So let's round. It looks like it's approximately 139.6. Area is always in units squared. All right, so the shaded area is about 139.6 inches squared. Okay, so non-shaded. Okay, so we can do the formula again. Okay, so you can do the formula. Oops, let me spell that right. Or we can do the total area minus the shaded area. Okay, because that would give us the unshaded area. That's normally what I opt for just because I've already done one of them. So let's do that approach. Let's do total area minus shaded area. So total area, so area is going to be pi times radius squared. So my total area is 100 times pi. So we're going to call that 314, let's say 0.2. So total area, 314.2, take away shaded. So 314.2 minus 139.6. So we're going to say the unshaded is approximately 174.6 square inches. All right, now we would get very close to that if we redid the formula. Okay, now again, we're doing some rounding here, so we might be a little bit off due to, how we're rounding. All right, let's keep going. Number 3. Use the diagram to find the area of the circle Y. All right, so remember, we're going to do a proportion here. We're doing sector area, total area, partial degrees, total degrees. All right, so I am given this area next to the shaded only goes with shaded. Okay, this is the shaded. So let's use that. Let's say the shaded area divided by total area. Now, I'm going to leave it as A. I don't really care what the radius is. It doesn't ask me to find radius. So let's leave it as A. So the degrees, I know it's out of 360. Now, make sure my 150 does correspond to the shaded arc. So that is what I can stick in the formula. So now we're ready to cross multiply. So 150A equals 360 times 95 is 34,200. Divide by 150. So it looks like area is exactly 228, and then my unit would be centimeters squared. So that can save you some time. If you don't need the radius, then let's just use the area. Pay attention to what you are provided with. Okay. There are 2 more problems on the last page of the notes. Will you please take a look at 4 and 5? Go ahead and pause the video, and then I'll have you come back. I'll have you check the answers, and if you would like to listen through the explanation, you can do that. here are the two solutions. Okay, let me go through the first one, shaded area. Okay, so I need, I don't know the shaded area. So the area of the circle is pi r squared over degrees. So I know 360, and this would be 110. Okay, so that would be my setup. So I would have 360x. So I would have 21 squared times 110. And so I leave it like this in terms of pi for just a bit. And then divide by 360. So I'm going to multiply that by pi, divided by 360. So there's your 423. And then I just did total area. So I just calculated pi times radius squared. So that was, and I rounded that. I rounded that to, let's see, 1,385.4. And so I just did that, take away the 423. Okay, so that's where my two values came from. Number 5, I need area. So I'm given this sector area, 123.45 over total area. And then 70 does match the correct shaded area. So I can just plug in my 70. Sometimes we need the other side, but in this case, I haven't needed it. And so then when I cross multiply, that's where I got that answer in purple. So 360 times 123.45. Okay. And then divide by 70, and then that gets me that answer I've got at the top. Okay, well that wraps up area and sector area. So as always, if you have questions,